friends, this is the Mrs. Wolfie from our half acre homestead. Greasy. And with a managing chronic pain day. I'm going to put you down, okay? Okay? I'm going to put you down. All right, go. Go see Daddy. Oh. Anyway, I apologize for not having videos on homesteading or baking or anything like that over the last couple of days, because the last couple of days I've been in the red. And in the red, for me, means it's debilitating. I'm lucky if I can get out of bed. And getting up and down out of chairs and things like that takes a walker and maybe sometimes help from Howie. So, and today was my first day where I thought I was going to be in the yellow, and I was kinda, and then I was in the library of the municipal office and I stumbled over nothing again, and I put my arm out and stopped myself from falling with the bookshelves, but of course that's thrown me into another flare. So I'm up into the orange level at the moment, and I'm medicating. And if you see me puffing on this, folks, it is not a cigarette. It is my medical marijuana in a filter tip cigarette because I don't like smoke. On Friday, when I went to take my son to work, Howie, could you come and get Gracie? She's really digging at my chair and stuff here. Could you call her? I dropped Briar off at work 8:45 Friday morning. I came home. I went and had a nap. And when I woke up, I couldn't use my right leg or my right knee. And that affects my whole leg because I couldn't bend it. I couldn't bend it more than, 10 or 15%. And I couldn't straighten it completely either. I could only straighten it to 90%. So the problem with that is I still have to function. I still have to use the bathroom. I still have to cook. I still have to drive my son to and from work. And so what happens is you're favoring that knee that you can barely use. And when you start doing that, it starts a cascade of pain elsewhere because you're overworking or you're ill-using your other knee or your hip or your back starts to ache because you are not in balance, okay? Even painful, I'm in pain all the time, but even painful days have a certain amount of balance to them where I can function. So, excuse me. That's why I like edibles. So anyway, I started out yellow today for the first time since Friday, because today is Monday, June 13th, 2016. And then I fell or didn't fall, but I stumbled, and that was it. I'm starting back into the red zone. So I thought I would do this video. I have another video coming out on baking something, so that'll be, thank God that I started that before I started to get into this pain flare again. I wanted to explain something about fibromyalgia. Now, I've explained in the past that every day starts with a basket of energy that is in the form, say, of eggs. And every time I do something, I have to count how many eggs of energy that's going to take me. And when my basket is empty, my basket is empty. And if you push yourself past that point, you're borrowing eggs from the next day until the point where one day you just can't get out of bed at all. So, what people don't necessarily understand about fibromyalgia is that until in the last 15 years, it was considered hypochondria because they couldn't find it. They couldn't find it. And for all those folks who hear someone say, I have fibromyalgia, and then you roll your eyes and go, oh, here we go. Okay? Because some days are great days. Howie, could you get her, please? She's scratching the floor here for something. Well, then please take her, sweetheart, because it's very, very distracting. And I'm medicating. And that makes it worse.
Come on, out of there. Come on.
So anyway,
She doesn't want you in here.
I don't want her in here while I'm recording. Thank you. Anyway, most diseases, they have a set of symptoms. The doctor looks the symptoms up or recognizes the symptoms and says, you have MS, you have lupus, you have a pulled ligament, you have arthritis, you have muscular dystrophy, whatever the case may be. You have irritable bowel syndrome, you have insomnia. Fibromyalgia sufferers, symptoms will mimic other diseases. And so instead of, say, being able to diagnose your symptoms as the disease fibromyalgia, they have to rule out all the other diseases that it mimics first. And that, my friends, takes a lot of time. And it can do a lot of damage too. When I first started showing symptoms, it was when I was pregnant with Briar. I may have been showing symptoms before that. I just don't recognize them. I've always had problems with my back, always. I was pregnant with Briar, so we're talking 24 years ago. And I wasn't diagnosed with fibromyalgia until Briar turned about 20. So there's a 20-year space in there where I was constantly being tested and they're trying to diagnose. They tested me for, and the problem is too, is when they test you for something like arthritis and it shows up, their first thought is, oh, that's what the problem is. And then it's up to you to say, no, it's more than that. Okay? So then it's not just x-rays and blood tests, then it's bone scans. Then it's, CAT scans and all these things that you have to go through to rule out what all the potential diseases it could be. When this takes time, you got to figure, you make a doctor's appointment. If you're lucky, you get in 3 weeks. Then you go see the doctor, and the doctor goes, gee, I'm going to have to send you for a bone scan, ultrasound, this, that, whatever the case may be. And you go for the bone scan. And then you come back to see the doctor and get the results. There is probably 3 to 5 months taken out of your life. Right there. I've, had to wait 5 months for injections, steroid injections in my knees and all these things. So instead of being able to diagnose it right off the bat, it took 20 years. It took 20 years. And in that 20 years, if you look at fibromyalgia as a bonfire, and you look at arthritis, carpal tunnel syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, thyroidism, intense weight gain, depression, you look at these as little fires that have been set by the sparks going up from the fibromyalgia fire. So in that 20-year period, the doctors and specialists and you are all running around putting out all these little fires by treating them individually. So, there's depression. We'll treat that. There's insomnia. We'll treat that. There's irritable bowel syndrome. We'll treat that. There's arthritis. We'll treat that. What they're not seeing, that aside from the arthritis, which I do have, everything else, all the other symptoms that they were treating were caused by the big fire that was throwing off sparks. I guess that's why they call it a fibromyalgia flare. So the diagnosis of this disease actually works in reverse of the diagnosis of most other things. And up until the last 15 or 20 years, people who suffered fibromyalgia we're called hypochondriacs because the symptoms are ghost-like. They come, they go. There's no rhyme. There's no reason. I had an aunt once who said, I'm going to have on my tombstone, see, I told you I was sick, because nobody believed her. So I'm going to take a stab and say that fibromyalgia is not a new disease. It's a very old disease. But I am going to say it's more visible now than ever because of all the environmental pollutants that in our food, our water, our air, our, that chemical drugs, all those things that we put into our body. And that aggravates it. And I've had a lot of folks say, well, if you tried this and if you tried that and if you tried this, folks, when it comes to fibromyalgia, I live it every single day. And it's been treated. And some of the treatments that I've gone through for all these other little things they were treating caused a lot of damage. I had gastric bypass surgery, which worked for the first year and then began to fail as my ovaries began to fail, as my knees began to fail, and I started to gain weight again. And they tested my thyroid. Everything like that is normal. Okay, so if you're going to ask me, have I tried it? Please, folks. The only thing that my life would make my life physically better, not necessarily mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, is if I lived on nuts, seeds, and leafy greens. And I've got irritable bowel syndrome, so that just wrote the only good diet off the list. So, irritable bowel syndrome, by the way, is another sidekick of fibromyalgia. So yeah, I've tried, we've done raw vegan, dear? We've done vegetarian, and it did help a lot of symptoms, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So the next time someone tells you, oh, it's my fibromyalgia, because it's easy. It's so easy to judge a person when you see like people looking at me and saying, I don't know how you do all that. Honey, I don't do that every day. If I have a yellow day, and by the way, I never have green. The only green I see is what I roll. I will never have a green day again. Yellow is the best I can hope for. And if I have a yellow day, I work my behind off trying to get 2 videos or maybe 3 videos done so that I can schedule them for uploads, so that, because I know, tomorrow is at least going to be gold or orange or red. Because a yellow day, I don't get too many of those back to back. So I use them up tough. Anyway, just remember, if someone, one day I could look perfectly normal, and then one day I could be, using a walker to get off the toilet. It's hard. Because people go, oh, well, I seen her doing this and this and this, and then, oh, but she's in public now, so she's using her walker. It's like, no, folks, no. One day is good, another day is bad, and you never know where it's going to hit. This is the Mrs. Wolfe from our half-acre homestead saying, I'm going to go finish cooking dinner while my medication takes effect. Take care. God bless.